All right, for my second pick and the third overall, the Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons plus 10.5 at the Los Angeles Rams. And look, the Rams have issues, major issues across the board. I know they have extra prep here. They're at home. Home field advantage isn't great, but their offensive line is a disaster. Matt Stafford, the pressure rate allowed higher than any game of all of last season. And the Bills didn't blitz one single time. Now their starting center is out for a month. Good luck against Grady Jarrett. Their tackle, who's replacing a future Hall of Famer, is banged up and looked bad last week. Across the board, this offensive line looks bad. You're probably still missing your deep threat at receiver. Allen Robinson looked like he was running in snow. Like it was bad. And the offense as a whole just looked off. I think this defense could also take a step back this year as well. I know they were playing the Bills and you don't want to overreact, but I think that the Rams could have some issues early on in the year, and really starts the offensive line. And who knows, even if Stafford is fully healthy. But I like the Falcons. I think that there's some value in this number at 10.5 for a couple of reasons. I think that this Falcons defense will remain undervalued early in the year. They did some nice things last week, and we talked about this in the preseason. Dean Pease, historically, his defenses improve in year two. Very complex scheme, disguise a lot of looks. That's not ideal for this offensive line, which is going to try and piece it together this upcoming weekend. And I think that the Falcons offense, they showed me some nice things last week. Now the Falcons will probably be up 14 in the fourth quarter and lose. That's what they do better than anybody. I mean, Arthur Smith and a couple more boneheaded in-game decisions last week that cost them the game. But yeah, I think the Falcons are going to be feisty this year, catching double digits in the NFL early on in the season, especially if there's more uncertainty with these teams. But just in general, I'm always intrigued catching double digits. And I think this is a good spot to get the Falcons in a game where everyone just assumes the Rams are going to bounce back because they lost week one. But I'm taking the opposite stance here. Anything over 10, I'm with the Falcons here.
Yeah, I like the Falcons. That would have been one of my picks. I think, like you said, this team is going to be feisty. I like some of the things they're doing on offense. I don't know how they lost that game against the Saints. That obviously the defense still has some issues, but overall, I think it's going to be a creative offense. Cordero Patterson showed that he could be a workhorse if they need, in that game. They got, Drake London. I think he'll only get better. Kyle Pitts hasn't even gotten the season started on the season yet. I mean, he did nothing against the Saints. So, you got weapons, all around. And I think, this Rams defense too is, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't, for the top end talent that they have, it just doesn't seem as scary to me. And even going back to last year, like, I don't know, with Ramsey, like, ever since they started putting him in the slot, like, it just feels like he's not making as much of an impact, and he's getting beat a lot. So, this
gave up a perfect passer rating last week.
Yeah. So, on both sides of the ball, I know this team won the Super Bowl. I think it, like you said, it's going to be a little bit of a rough start here. Like the offensive line. I mean, you could just tell that Matthew Stafford, when he doesn't have time, it's back to Detroit Matthew Stafford. It's like he'll make some plays and he'll get some things going, but also, he's not always going to bail you out. He lost a lot of games in Detroit because, didn't always have an offensive line. He didn't always have more than one receiver. And now you're kind of going back to that. So yeah, 10.5, too many points this early in the season, especially after we just saw the Falcons put together a pretty solid performance last week. Now, obviously, they're going on the road here, but Rams, not a huge home field advantage. I mean, they had to go silent count last week. So, yeah, it's, long rest. I guess that's the thing. That's why the line is so big. But
yeah, Ramsey's about to be 28, by the way, and that's when you start to fall off. Like 27 24 to 27 is usually the prime. And in 2020, only one quarterback threw at him more than 9 times. Last week, I think Josh Allen went like 7 of 8 for like 108 yards. Last year, Brady threw at him 12 times. Cousin threw at him 10 times. Russ and Geno combined to throw at him 10 times. Burrow threw at him 9 times in the Super Bowl. So teams are obviously, NFL teams are obviously scouting this stuff. And in 2020, before no one was throwing at them. Now you're seeing teams do so. Must mean something. But yeah, I think too many points here.